Welcome back to our next segment, Talking Points. There has been a number of cases of unclaimed inheritance among Muslims in Malaysia. In most cases, it is because they don't know much about it. Now we have here with us to share about the issue, Mr. Kamarul Azhar Hashim, the Managing Director of Kausar Wealth. All right, now, you're the Managing Director of Kausar Wealth. Can you tell us more about Kausar Wealth and what services do you provide?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for inviting me for this session. I'm from Kausar Wealth Management, and what Kausar does is that we help the Muslims in Malaysia to plan their assets and also their inheritance to make sure that it goes to their loved ones after their demise.
There's a lot of misunderstanding and lack of knowledge about the inheritance from a deceased family. Can you explain who should get the inheritance?
Yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions about inheritance for Muslim in Malaysia. For a start, who actually will get it in terms of the distribution. But before I even mention that, why is the reason why there is a problem? Number one, if you, from all the research have done and basically all the writings for all the scholars and experts in the field, they said number one is because of the awareness level. Muslim has less awareness in terms of who actually their faraid is. They don't. Faraid as means who is actually entitled for the estates and also what is the portions of the entitlement. That's number one. And number two, it's also got to do with the culture for Muslims in Malaysia. When it comes to inheritance, it's always a topic that you shouldn't talk about, you know, as if it's disrespect for the demise. And as a result of that, it get delayed and delayed. That's reason number two. Reason number three is because there has a misconceptions in terms of the ownership of the asset. During the lifetime, it's called asset. When they pass away, it's called estates. Why is it important to create this the distinction between these two? Is because the ownerships on the asset differs. During the lifetime, it's called estates belongs to the owner. They can do whatever they want to do. They can dispose it whatsoever. But from the when it pass away, it becomes estates. When it becomes estates, it's no longer his. So who is it belongs to? And that's where it goes back to faraid just now. So the faraid, let me explain a little bit about the faraid. In the Islamic inheritance law, faraid is written in the Quran in Surah An-Nisa, verse 11, 12 and 176, means that for two main things, which is number one, who entitled for it, and number two, what portion they entitled for. Yeah, so the who entitled for it is actually there's about 25 groups of people who actually can entitle for it. It's subject to who lives at the time of the owner pass away. So and who actually the nearest actually gets it, you know, and the rest does not get it. So what does it mean? It means that everybody has their own faraid as, different faraid as. So we have to calculate it. Yeah, and another reason why there's an issue in terms of inheritance law, inheritance in Malaysia is because of the law, the process. A lot of Muslims felt that because they are Muslim, so it only governed by Sharia law. But actually, the estates actually divided by two. First, the civil law for the process of administration, and from the distribution, who has the right on the estates, and that's governed under Sharia laws.
So, do the children get the inheritance?
Yeah. In faraid law, as I mentioned just now, there's 25 group of people. If all lives, if they are all still alive, the first 5 will get it. For example, I give myself as an example. If I pass away, I still have my mother. My mother is entitled for it. My father is also entitled for it. Their entitlement is 1/6 or whatever assets I have, the estates I have. My father will get 1/6 if I have children. In this case, I have 3 children, 2 girls and 1 boy. My wife entitled for it, which is 1/8. 1/8, and then the balance is to my son and my daughter in the ratio of 2 for male and 1 for female. And just to give you a perspective, 1/6 is equivalent to about 16.66%. If it's 100,000, that's 16,666. That's the same with the father, 16.66%, 16,000, and the wife, 1/8. That's equivalent to 12.5%.
Okay. So
Okay.
everyone gets a part of the
Yes,
inheritance
correct.
amount.
And the balance to the male in 2 portions, and the female got 1 portion.
Okay.
So if this formula changes, what does that mean? It means that if the father, my father is no longer around, for example, at the time of my demise, I don't have a son. I only have 1 daughter and a wife. That means in Faraid law, it's not only my wife and my daughter is my heirs. It's also now will be my siblings. Whatever number of siblings I have. For example, if I have 4 siblings, I mean now also they are entitled for my inheritance.
Okay.
So if I have 10 siblings, it's also entitled. So Muslims need to know, first of all, who actually their Faraid heirs during the lifetime, so they can plan properly, you know. And also there's no surprises later on, you know, when the wife or the kids only discovered that actually, you know, there's other Faraid heirs as well.
What happens if a inheritance case is not solved? For example, if the family member disagree with the percentage that they're getting.
So what happened is that so when during a lifetime is called estate, when they pass away they call estate, and the estate, the distribution formula is already a default by Faraid. What does that mean? It means, I give an analogy, if you buy a phone and you switch on the phone, you know, there is all the factory setting, right? So Faraid is like a factory setting for the inheritance.
Okay.
So if you don't plan anything, or the owner don't plan anything, then the Faraid laws applies. However, a lot of Malaysians today starting to looking for different instruments to plan according to their wishes during the lifetime. So in Sharia, in Islam, there is other instruments they can use, that they can plan during the lifetime, such as hibah, for example. So when they do hibah during the lifetime, whatever asset that they have hibah or gifts, that will be excluded from Faraid. For example, I hibah my house, my property to my son or to my daughter. That will be taken out of equation from the Faraid formula, because it's happened during lifetime.
All right. So now, what happens if, because now families there's many that
so
are
you're saying
living
that they are
in
not
the same place.
So
some live abroad and overseas and stuff. And if a member of a family wants to sell the property, is that possible?
Yeah, it's possible. Okay. Let me reverse back just now to your question. What happened if somebody actually contested the estate just now? So so if they can't contest the Faraid law, meaning to say, if they say the male got 2, the female got 1, and at the end of the day, the final call will be Faraid. Unless it can come to mutual sense, you know, to say that, okay, we agree that it's going to be equal, for example. So the male, meaning to say the female and the male get equal portion. So that means that the male is giving out their portion. So let me clarify on that. That's number 1. So that's from the portion of who gets what. Now the question is is in the matter of administration. I live overseas, I want to sell the property. So can you do that? The answer to that is can. But first, after the person demise, all the Faraid heirs have to go to the legal process to gain what we call letter of administration or probate. So once one of the heirs get the power to represent the rest, you know, in terms of the administration of the asset, then they can go through the selling process of the property, either by themselves or they can appoint third party or institutional, you know, to assist them in the process of selling of the property.
And does Kausa Wealth provide that kind of services?
Yeah, we also helps the customer to plan during the lifetime, and also in the event after they pass away, if there is a need, such needs.
Okay. If the inheritance belongs to a non-Muslim, because nowadays there's a lot of biracial families, I'm wondering if the person who wants to inherit the property is a non-Muslim, can a Muslim person inherit the property from that non-Muslim person?
Yeah, if you look at the Distribution Act Law 1958, if a non-Muslim pass away, and for example, the father is a non-Muslim and he has a son which is converted to a Muslim, yes, this Muslim son can inherit the law from the asset. through the Distribution Act.
Okay.
However, in reverse, if the person is a Muslim and he passed away, and for example he's a convert and he has a non-Muslim father and mother, for example, the Sharia law does not permit for them to actually inherit the son's estates. And that is the reason why there is other instrument that the son can use during the lifetime to plan. For example, I want to give to my non-Muslim father or non-Muslim mother, which is using the hibah instrument. They can give during the lifetime.
Okay.
Yeah, so they, because of the act of love.
Yeah. All right, that's great. Can you, oh wait. Yeah, the number of unclaimed inheritance in 2016 was pretty high.
Yes.
Is the number decreased now or increased?
No. No, it's keep increasing.
Okay.
Back in last year, 2016, the amount that was declared in the newspaper was about 66 billion. I'm talking about the immovable and immovable assets. And if we studied the number from 2006, every year there's an increase between 3 to 5 billion. So by now it should be at least 70 billion, which is not, it's not written, but from the projection, the numbers keep increasing. And if you look at how this number will grow further, we can look at the different type of assets available. For example, we look at KWSP or EPF. There's only about 20+% the EPF contributor has nominations. In Tabung Haji, there's about 5.6 million contributor in Tabung Haji that does not have nominations. And that's, if something happens to them, the amount of money that will be involved in or stuck, will be about 32 billion in Tabung Haji itself. Okay. So there will be a potential huge growth in terms of unclaimed assets if they don't understand how the process and how to plan from now on.
All right, we'll be taking a short break right now and we'll be right back after this.
Ayo, kita bersama Iman Nazri, kita cari the best hipster dessert in town dalam Pemanis Mulut hanya di Capital TV. See ya!
I bought the crib and it's an escrow now, so you don't never have to worry about how you gon' pay rent no more. I put my team in position, now they making a killing.
Since its inception more than 30 years ago, Islamic finance in Malaysia has developed into a comprehensive and sophisticated Islamic finance marketplace. Islamic finance in Malaysia is characterized by a robust regulatory, supervisory, Sharia and legal framework, a deep primary market and active secondary sukuk market. But have we done enough to make Malaysia as a high value-added, high-income nation by 2020? Tune in to Islamic Finance, challenging the status quo, only on Capital TV, Channel 420.
Membawakan kepada anda berita terkini, laporan khas dan secara langsung eksklusif, rangkuman berita arus perdana, isu global merentasi sempadan, tempatan, ekonomi, kemasyarakatan dan sukan dengan liputan terperinci dari segenap dimensi, informasi tepat dan padat yang terbaik bersama kami 7 hari seminggu 8 malam di Capital TV.
Welcome back to Talking Points. We're still here in the studio with Kamarul Azhar Hashim, the Managing Director of Kausar Wealth. Now, continuing on with our interview just now. And our next question is, what is the difference between faraid and other non-Muslim law inheritance?
Okay. For Muslims, they are governed by the Distribution Act 1958 law. Basically, there is the faraid for the non-Muslim. It has the formula, if the owner of the asset pass away, who is who entitled for the estates. Normally it's the father, the mother, the wife and the kids are the issues. But for the non-Muslim, for the Muslims, they have the faraid law. So if they pass away and they did nothing, then the formula faraid prevail, where there is about, as I said, mentioned before, 25 type of people who actually can entitle for it, subject who available at the time of the owner pass away. And everybody has a different faraid S. So the difference is the Muslim has a lot more. They need to know exactly, and they have different S.
Okay.
Yeah.
They need to know who they can.
They need to know, and that's the reason why one of our program that we do a lot of talks out there, create awareness. Providing with the faraid certificates, because everybody has a different faraid S. If they're single, then if they still have father and mother, then the S could be just mother and father. Yeah. If he doesn't have father and mother, and he married and he only have a wife, no daughter, then if he pass away, his S, faraid S would be his wife, which is only 1/4 or a quarter. And 3/4 will go to if you have siblings, and it will be divided among the siblings in the ratio of 2:1 for male and female. If there's no siblings, they will look for the siblings of the father or the uncles. If there are other uncles or the aunties pass away, they are looking for the son of the uncles.
Okay.
Yeah, so it goes to those hierarchies.
Okay, so you said you provide the faraid certificate.
Yes,
How can
correct.
someone gain the certificate? What's the process?
Normally, is either they can call us at Kausar Wealth, or when we actually do talks. Normally, we do talks at government agencies, private agencies, and after about 1 hour talk, normally we provide them with free faraid certificate. They will fill out a form. Basically, we'll ask a question: who are still available, and their parents, their sibling, their wife, their children, whatsoever. And from that, we help them to simulate, and how does the faraid for them look like, so that they understand it now, and they can tell their spouse and their children that this is actually the faraid S and what need to do. If he pass away, it's either to distribute it according to faraid, or to have a different mechanism or tools they want to distribute it. And he can use a certain instrument, as I mentioned before, such as hibah.
Is there any fees for that to get the certificate?
Oh no, we use it as our CSR. Is our corporate social responsibility for every Muslim to know who their faraid is, and also after they know about it, and is to prepare, to prepare themselves and also their family, to make sure that if something happens, and everybody will go. It's a matter of time. Everybody will go, and if they go, to make sure that whatever he have built for their loved ones, it will be transferred in very efficient time, and will be assisted by those who actually have the knowledge and can assist his loved ones.
Okay, now can you explain to us what type of properties or inheritance that is not according to the faraid?
Oh, okay. So everything that remains under his name at the time of demise, either is an immovable asset or movable assets, it falls under faraids. Yeah, it falls under faraids, except for a few estates which is excluded. For example, like which is excluded from faraid, right? The question. For example, pension. Pension is not as it's not considered as estates because it does not belongs not belong to him as an asset because he doesn't have any contribution to it.
Okay.
Pension money, for example, insurance compensation from the company because the company is the one that giving it. Okay. He has no contribution to it, so that does not fall into faraid distribution. So if the company decided to give to the wife or to the husband or to the kids, it's not fall under faraid distribution.
Okay, so faraid distribution meaning is the person's itself.
The person and also the entitlement.
Okay.
The entitlement according to the formula of faraid.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. What happens to the land properties that is unclaimed?
Land property that unclaimed currently in Malaysia it goes up to about 1 million title. We're still under the name of the demised person, meaning to say the owner has already passed away a long time ago. Okay. So what happened to the land itself? I mean, we're talking about the land. It refers to empty land. It refers to properties, terrace, double-story bungalow, condo, and that falls under properties. It still remain. It will be there. Until somebody, which is the legal heirs, going through the process of administration to get the probate, to get the letter of administration, so that they can represent the heirs and have the become representative to go through the process of estate planning.
Kausa Wealth Management also provide for those who are interested to become a da'i. What factors do you guys look at? Can you explain what a da'i is?
Da'i means basically that somebody that remind others of doing the good things, especially in this particular context, planning, planning for the inheritance. Or the other name for it would be estate planning advisors, Islamic estate planning advisors. There's a huge number of demand for planning. Unfortunately, in terms of supply, we don't have enough. So therefore, there's a huge opportunity for those out there who can come in and be the advisor in estate planning. First, number one condition is that they have to have the intention, to help Muslims out there, because Muslims are the one that are having the problem. Out of 66 billion I mentioned now, or maybe 70 billion now, 90% belong to Muslim. So they have the intention to help Muslims. Number two, at least I would like them to have at least diploma in any field, because there's extensions of a lot of knowledge they have to acquire. They have to know about land, they have to know about companies, they have to know about equities, basically. So there will be a continuous learning process. Yeah, so we need somebody that have the ability and the willingness. So the age will be between 35 to about 60. And preferably from somebody that in the financial field. For example, has the background of insurance agents or takaful agents, unit trust agent, properties, accountant, company secretary, former bankers, or those who are actually going through the VSS or MSS, looking for a career. They are the right candidate that I'm looking for.
With a financial background.
Correct, because they are providing, currently they're providing a service to their existing customers anyway. And all those services that they provided, for example, investment or takaful whatsoever, is only a subset of the whole inheritance. So therefore, if the customers are Muslim, they need to complete it with the inheritance planning. Yes.
Now, our last question. We know that Kausa Wealth also provides many programs such as awareness on Muslim inheritance. What do you have in store for us this coming year?
Yeah, so we're going to increase our activities. We're going to do more public talks. We're going to do hibah dialogues. We're going to go out throughout Malaysia to create awareness among the practitioners in financial services. also doing a lot more public talks to government agencies and also private agencies so that we can reach out more. This is something that not for every Muslim to wake up in the morning and think that, okay, I want to do a will, I want to do hibah. It requires somebody that goes to them and create awareness and in importance that they have to do and act something today for the sake of their loved ones. So we need people that actively going out there and to provide this awareness and also provide the solution for the Malaysian Muslim so that the economy can grow. So all the estates, such as money in bank and the land will be used, will be able to transfer, will generate income, and it's good for Ummah.
All right, thank you so much for being here today with us.
You're welcome.
All right, so I hope you at home learn a little bit more about the inheritance, Muslim inheritance, and I hope that next year the number of unclaimed inheritance will decrease, hopefully. All right, that concludes Talking Points for today. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We're taking a short break and we'll be right back after this.